Hey, I want to welcome our viewers to Kennesaw Happenings Podcast. Back in the studio is the School Whisper. Now, Paul, everybody knows the dog whisper, but if you have kids, you need to know the School Whisper, and we're going to talk about why it's important to have the dog whisper in your corner. So, Paul, for those that haven't met you, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into our podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. It's really good to be back here with you again on your podcast. I appreciate it. You're doing great things, bringing people together and letting the audience know about great opportunities and relationships to connect with in the Kennesaw community and beyond. But I'm Paul Montaperto. My company is Family to Family Incorporated. And basically, we are a relocation service company, full service, where we help families who are relocating to the Metro Atlanta area or relocating across the Metro Atlanta area find a home as a real estate company. But our unique niche is we can help them find the best fit schools for their kids. And so I've taken 20 plus years of experience working in K-12 education, and that has collided with real estate. And now we are able to serve families by using a methodology that we've developed to help assess their students' profile academically, socially, emotionally, families' values, and then make some recommendations on various schools that might interest them. And then we can support them through the admissions process if it's private school, the registration process if it's public school. And then, of course, there's charter, hybrid, homeschool groups. There's just a lot of opportunities here in the Metro Atlanta area. And what we've learned is as families come into the area, or even for families who live in the area, they really don't know the depth of options available. And so our first goal is to really educate families on what their options are.
I know we talked before we came on the podcast that I want our viewers to understand a simple concept. When you're baking a cake, if you bake that cake and all of a sudden you forget to throw the eggs in, you can't throw the eggs in after it's baked. That cake will not turn out fine. No. So I think of when you talk about the School Whisper, we talk about the actual order of how people need to think. I know how important it is to select the best schools for our kids. Most people out there, and I'm sure our viewers will agree, we buy a house, then we say, okay, what are our school options? And what if that school option for your child is an hour away? Now you're faced with Monday through Friday commuting. Why don't you share with our viewers how you approach things by helping people find the school first, then decide the neighborhood or the home? Explain that to our viewers so they understand how you consult and work with people.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great point. And the example that you shared right there, Pete, for a family buying a house and then having to drive an hour away would be certainly a family who wants to exercise private school for their children, which we have over 100 private schools just in the Metro Atlanta area. And so there are a lot of options there. We have over 60 charter schools in the Metro Atlanta area. We have over 1,000 schools total in the Metro Atlanta area, and many of them great schools, charter, public, and private. And so what we have realized is the education landscape has changed so much that why not take a look at the school piece first, because we all care deeply about where our children are going to school and the type of education that they're getting, and look at options that meet the needs of the children and the values of the family, and take a look at those things, and then identify the school that we want to attend. And then after that, we can help them find a home that's within a geographic distance to the school that suits them based on their commute, and so on and so forth. And so that is the difference between myself and some of your typical relocation real estate companies in the area, which there are some phenomenal folks that really understand Atlanta and the different cities and communities, and even some of the school systems as well. But what I've found is most real estate agents will provide some data, and the data is good. Greatschools.org, niche.com, privateschoolreview.com. There's some great different websites out there that measure different metrics of schools. And I don't discount that. I think it's important for families to know that. But what we're able to do is we're able to take that a couple of steps further. Those websites and that data they don't measure culture. Right. They don't measure sustainability. They don't measure the leadership. They don't offer the types of questions that parents should be asking schools when they're going on school tours or looking at specific types of programs and things of that nature. And so that's what we're able to do is provide a little bit more guidance for families based on who they are, based on who their children are and what they are seeking, and then bring those two pieces together and introduce them to a couple of those different opportunities. And then, of course, help them find a great home and a wonderful community as well.
Yeah, that makes so much sense when we were talking before you came on. And I've always, in my experience, it's always house first, school second. Certainly we think of the schools of the area, but if you reverse that and do schools first, and then there's plenty of homes out there, but let's just say you're dyslexic and there's one dyslexic school in your area. You want to make sure you're close if your child needs that or another special need. You want to make sure you're living close to that school because, hey, our viewers know Atlanta. Atlanta is known for a couple things, the Olympics and traffic. And I tell you, the Olympics are gone, but traffic is still here, and it's not going to get any better. And I spent an hour and a half going to Sandy Springs yesterday because of a wreck on the 285. Yeah. So you never know. So if you can understand the dynamics, and I came from the digital marketing business, websites don't always get updated that often. So if you're depending, like you said, on these sites to draw your information, that website may be 2 years old and you're looking at old information. So with yourself, tell our viewers, like K through 12, you have that experience. What drew you to kind of come to this problem that we have out there? Did you all of a sudden wake up one morning and go, holy mackerel, we got an issue out here about how parents find the right schools? Tell us, our viewers that haven't maybe heard you before, how did you come up with that concept?
Yeah, I actually, Pete, it's been in response to my direct experience of working in the admissions world of private schools. As a former middle school principal at a local private school here in the Kennesaw community, I sat across the table from hundreds of families over the course of my time there. And when COVID hit, when the pandemic hit a few years ago, believe it or not, there was a national spike in private school enrollment for a variety of reasons. And so the private school admissions landscape has gotten much more competitive. And what I found was we were filling up and we were having to turn away some really, really good families who were looking for the type of programming and education that the school was providing. And oftentimes these families didn't know where else to go because they put all their eggs in that one basket. That was where they wanted to go. It was within proximity to their house. And now they were faced with kind of throwing up their hands and not sure what to do. And so that made it really, really clear to me that there's got to be a better way for us to look at those things. And of course, to educate families on the variety of options that are out there. And so with my background in the education world, and then of course, my background in the real estate world, I had an opportunity to work with a few families who are relocating to the area and wanted my help with schools. And then all of a sudden they said, hey, we need to buy a home. And so I would help them with that. And that's kind of where Family to Family Inc. was born from.
Right.
And now we're honing that whole process and providing a full service relocation deal where we're partnering with some local moving companies, and we can work with a family, working with one person to help with their entire move, to focus on the two most important things to most families, and that is where they're going to live and where their kids are going to go to school.
Yeah, when you think of your kids' education, there's nothing when as far as raising kids more important than finding a good match for a school. And depending on, with special needs, there's a lot of special needs out there, and different schools will cater to different students. And so it's kind of a maze of all these things that parents have to figure out.
Right.
And if you're busy, this is just my own opinion, how many people have the time to do all that research, to have these relationships and these contacts? What do you see, like, when people come to you, what they say, hey, Paul, what is it, more elementary or more high school? What are you seeing out there as far as parents' needs are? Are they coming to you with those type of questions?
Yeah, as far as the age of the kids, I would say it's K through 12.
Okay.
We're working with elementary school families, middle school families, high school families. But a great example to what you just shared is we've got some close friends who just relocated to the Metro Atlanta area from Florida, and they had their kids in private school in Florida, and they wanted to find a good private Christian school here in the Metro Atlanta area, and did all of that work on their own, sitting from Tampa, Florida, and researching the different schools here in the Atlanta area without having any context of what they really understood to be true or accurate or, geographic, when you look at Atlanta traffic, all those things that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And when we met and I shared a little bit about what I do, they both looked at me and said, man, we wish we had your help when we were coming up here, because it would have made our lives so much easier with having somebody there able to kind of guide and direct us based on the things that we were looking for. And so I think that's a prime example of what a lot of families out there are feeling and thinking and experiencing. And so to your point, when folks are moving, the first thing they consider is, okay, where are we going to live? And what we're proposing at Family to Family Inc. is, if you have school-age children, there's what we think a better way to approach that. And let's educate ourselves on our school options across the Metro Atlanta area, then find the community in which we want to live, and then we'll purchase the home from there.
Yeah, I'm thinking when you're describing that, if you're in Tampa and you see, oh, it's 5 miles to this school, if you're on the wrong side of that traffic pattern, 5 miles can mean 30 minutes. Absolutely. Easy. So you think, oh, honey, it's only going to be 10 minutes to Johnny's school. Well, you're going the wrong way. So 10 minutes becomes 30 minutes. And then you multiply that twice a day.
Right.
And all of a sudden, maybe you catch the right pattern in the afternoon, but you don't do it in the morning. There's a lot of dynamics that go with Atlanta traffic, that goes with the landscape of Atlanta, that you being local, how many years have you lived in this community as a family?
So we have been in the Metro Atlanta area since 2005, but I actually went to high school in East Cobb. My family, I grew up in New York, and we moved to Cobb County, Georgia, in Marietta when I was a freshman in high school. So I went to high school here, and then I graduated from the University of Georgia, and then I lived at a couple of different states around the country, and then relocated back to this area in 2005, where I met my wife, and then we have been in the area since then. And so we were in Forsyth County, working in their public school system for, I was there, I think, 11 years, and then relocated to West Cobb, where we are now, and have been here going on 8 years. Wow. With our two youngest children in a local private school here, and had the opportunity to work at that private school, and then, of course, make great connections and network with administrators and teachers and staff all across the Metro Atlanta area through a couple of different associations with the private schools. But, we're talking a lot about private schools, Pete. there are some amazing public schools
Mhm.
in the metro Atlanta area. Fantastic, nationally known for some of them for their academic program, for their athletic programs, for their arts programs. There's magnet programs, there's IB programs. There's, again, a lot of different options depending upon the school district, which everything's based on county here in Georgia, or the specific school itself as far as what those offerings are. And so anyone who might be moving from out of state can go to those websites and dig through and find out all that information. But to your point earlier, that can be extremely overwhelming and time consuming.
Yes.
And so what we're saying is, based on our experience and the knowledge and the folks that we know across the Atlanta community, we can do that legwork for you. All we ask is that you provide us a little bit of information through a student profile inventory that we submit. It's about 45 questions or so. And then we use that information with an interview with the family. And then we go out and we start to put together what I call a school consideration summary. And that is just a small 1-page, 2-page report back to the families to say, based on what you shared, based on what we found, here are a couple of schools or school systems that we recommend. And then we go from there.
Wow. I have to say how challenging it is when you're moving. There's so many, especially when you build, because when years ago, I've been here many years, they're over 30. Building a home is a very tedious process.
Right.
And so all the things that go into moving, you're helping people really take care of a very important, probably the most important thing, is the kids' education. So I want to challenge our viewers, like, if you know people that Paul can help support, put it in the comments. We're going to ask him in just a few minutes to give him his information, and we'll put it in the show notes too. So you can be aware of a service like this and be cognizant of the issues that come up when people don't put the right order in when they're relocating. So why don't you tell our viewers how they would get a hold of you, and we'll let you finish up with a closing insight.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. You can find us easily at our website, which is www. The letter F, the number 2, the letter F, inc.com, F2FINC.com, Family to Family Inc. That's who we are. And if you go to our website, there are multiple areas where you can click on a contact us button and fill out your information. And then somebody from our team will reach back out to you and see how we might be able to serve. Whether you are moving to Atlanta from out of state, or you're already here in the metro Atlanta area and you are looking to find a better fit for your children's school, and maybe need to move across town, we can help with all of those elements. And so we would love to serve you if you think that the service that we have can help.
Awesome. We appreciate that, Paul. Also, as we close out, give our viewers one insight that they can take with them from this podcast, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Today is January 11th or 12th, somewhere in that range. And we are in the start of the second semester when you talk about school here in the metro Atlanta area. And it is also the heart of admission season for our private schools around the area. And so the admissions departments in these private schools are working overtime, processing applications for folks who are looking to enroll their kids for the following 2024-2025 school year. And so I just want to throw a couple of tips out there for you guys. If that is you, if you are looking to engage in that admissions process for this current cycle. The first thing is, if you are filling out applications for private schools, what I would encourage you to do is make sure you set aside enough time. A lot of these applications and questionnaires and the things that the private schools are asking you to complete as part of the application process, they can take upwards of about an hour. and it requires you to think and maybe pull out some information that you haven't looked at in a while. And so set aside enough time to where you don't feel rushed, so that you can make sure that you are dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's exactly how you need to. The second thing is I would make sure that you fully understand the expectations of the application process for each school you're applying to. And what I mean by that is, while a lot of the processes and the information is similar, there's a lot that's different. For example, there is a host of about 38 or 39 private schools in the metro Atlanta area that all belong to an organization called AAAIS. It's the Atlanta Area Association of Independent Schools. And all of those schools have come together and they've developed a joint admissions process. And within that, they require some things that some of the other private schools in the area don't. For example, if you're applying for kindergarten through fifth grade, they're going to ask you to take the joint admissions placement test. And that is something you have to schedule with one of the psychologists that they partner with. And that student is going to take that test, and then the test scores from that test will be passed along to the school that they'll use as a part of the admissions process. Secondly, is all of those schools will process the applications, but they are going to send out their response all together on April 1st. That is when they announce whether your application has been accepted or it has been declined. And then after that, families are either being welcomed into the community or they're having to find an alternative. And so that is something to know, because it's important for you to put your best foot forward when you're engaging in this process. And then the last thing I would say is, just about every private school is going to require some type of family and or student interview. And so you want to practice, you look in the mirror, talk to your kids about the types of questions that you anticipate being asked, and don't go in cold, because you're trying to put your best foot forward, because again, it is a very competitive landscape when you think about trying to get into these schools. So those are just some tips for you. And of course, we help with all of those things. And so if you think that we can provide any assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Well, we want to thank you, Paul. And if you have any questions for Paul, you can put it in the comment section below.
Please.
And we'll make sure that they address them. And Paul's information will be in the show notes too, for those that might be driving. And we want you to focus on the drive, not multitasking. Thank you so much, Paul, for taking time to come to Kennesaw Happiness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pete.